Welcome back to the studio, everybody, and let me welcome you all back to another episode in our design project series, Project Looking Glass. As always, we've been going over tips, tricks, and techniques for Unreal Engine 5 as we go about designing our very own dark fantasy adventure game. In this series, we've covered a lot of topics so far, including a HUD system, where I introduce the use of widgets for the player, a combat system, where we have introduced light and heavy attacks, as well as a sprint mechanic, and a stamina system. We've also recently gone over how to create an interactable object mechanic for player interaction. In today's video, we're going to be expanding upon that last topic by creating some collectible power-ups and adding both a dash and double jump feature. We'll be going over character movement, using delays, and a simple way to toggle abilities using Booleans. There's a couple of different topics to go over, so let's get into it. Alright folks, so in our last video we went over how to create this interactable object here, which we have set up to look just like a simple cube, I suppose. But if you walk up to it, once you get within range, it presents this widget which tells you what button to press, and that widget is customizable. If you walk away from it, it takes it off the screen. And if you hit the interact button, it won't do anything unless you can see that widget. As long as you're colliding with the object itself, you'll be able to interact with it, and in this case, destroy the object. We're going to be creating something similar to that, not using the interact system, but overlaps instead. We're going to be creating some power-ups that will be able to show off a rotation and bobbing mechanic, as well as collisions that will allow you to activate abilities for a limited duration. So, in order to do this, we're going to create some new materials. I'm going to exit out of that. We're going to go to our games folder, and under our collectibles, we're going to create a new collectible. We're going to create a new base actor, I suppose, and we're going to name this, we're going to create it as an actor. We're going to name this as BP underscore collectible, or no. Yeah, let's do collectible. I still think I'm misspelling that, but we'll also label this as collectible power-up. Or we can just do power, collectible power. Double click to open it. And we're going to just place a simple static mesh. You can really be anything. I'm going to select a sphere just because it's simple. And on that sphere, we're actually going to cut this in half, make that about half size. There we go. We're going to compile, save, and we're going to go to our event graph. The first thing that we're going to do is create the bobbing mechanic. So off of event begin play, we're going to add a timeline. We're going to name this Bob, or bobbing mechanic. And we're going to open it up. We're going to take a length of 5, that actually looks good, add a float track, and you're going to want to add 3 points to it. Now the first point is going to be set to times 0 at a value of 50. And you'll see why we're using such large numbers in just a second. Let's zoom out. Maybe that wasn't the best idea. There we go. Select the middle one. We'll do a time of 2.5 and a value of 100. I don't think never mind. We're going to take this last one. Let's set time for 5 at a value of 50. Zoom out, there we go. We should have 3 points. Select all 3 points. Right click on one of them and hit auto and give a nice curve. And you're going to want to hit this button here for looping. Rename the track. We're going to rename this to alpha. And we're going to compile. Alright, so now that we have that taken care of, we're going to grab our sphere. We're going to set relative location. And we are going to split the pin here. Right click on new location, split pin structure. And we're going to take our alpha and plug it into location Z. This is why we use such large values, because the value of alpha is now going to be the new height on the object. Plug that into update. Compile, save. And we should be able to see this in action. Drag this here. I'm going to drag this onto the map and play. There's our floating object, bobbing up and down. Now I'm also going to add a relative rotation to this, so it's going to look a little bit more dynamic rather than just something bobbing in the air. You don't have to do this, but I think this looks good. So we're actually going to use event tick. This is probably not the best use of this, because you don't usually want something to call every tick, but this will be a quick and easy way to set this up. So what we're going to do, we're going to take the sphere and we're going to set, or we're actually going to add rotation. Relative. We'll do a relative rotation. Connect that in. And off of delta seconds, actually, we're going to split the pin structure here. And off of delta seconds, we're going to do a multiply. And plug that into our z-axis. So it's only rotating along the z-axis doing this. We're going to do a multiply of, let's do some small number. Let's do 30. Compile, save. I don't think we'll be able to see it very well on a sphere, so let's change the shape. Let's make it a cube. Take this cube 1 down here, or we can actually do cube 2. Oh, open that back up. It doesn't look correct. There we go. File, save. There's our new cube. And there is our collectible object. That's a very simple way to create an object that floats and rotates in mid-air. I'll show the code on the screen again. It's a very simple thing to do. And it looks very good. It looks very dynamic. You can add this to pretty much whatever you want in the world. This will work on any kind of static. This will work on any static mesh that is movable. But to get back to what we were doing, we're now going to turn this into a collectible object that the player can walk into and pick up. So we're going to add a collision sphere. If I can spell, still can't spell. That'll be fine. The name isn't all that important, but we do want to make it larger than the object itself. So let's do 50. There we go. Compile, save. And now, on the event graph, right-click on the collision and add your event. We're only going to be using event begin overlap. Off of other actor, do an equal for a check. And in this case, we're actually going to want to create a function. So we're going to create a new function by hitting the plus sign on functions. And we're going to name this our getPlayerRef. This is my favorite way of getting a player reference. We're going to come off of the function and cast to your player character. So I'm using third person character BP. Off object, getPlayerPawn. And create a reference variable by promoting to variable, not local variable, regular variable. There we go. Compile, save. And now we'll have to call that function. I'm going to call it on event begin play. Move this out of the way, tidy it up. There we go. Compile, save. And we can take our player reference, place it on the check, do a branch. And now we should be able to overlap it and destroy it when we walk into it. Compile, play. So normally when you walk into the interactable object, you have to press E to destroy it. But with this floating one, simply walking into it will do the trick. So now we can add something to make this a little bit more useful. So what we're going to do, we're going to make it so that this creates a delayed power that you can activate. So as long as the delay is active, you'll be able to use the power up. So in this case, we're actually going to, let's go ahead and create a child blueprint off of this. No, I don't think we'll need to create a child blueprint off of this. Instead, we're going to just duplicate this. We can create a child blueprint later. Go into collectible. Duplicate. And we are going to call this power. Let's do a double jump. All right. Inside of our new double jump ability, we're going to change the shape. I'm going to set this to the first cube, which is orange. Compile, save. And what we're going to want to do, coming off of player ref, you're going to want to set max jump count. So this is how we're going to increase the amount of times that we can jump. We're going to set this to 2. Duplicate that as well, because we're going to want to reset this right before we destroy the object. Set that back to 1. So what we're going to do, we're going to set this object to be invisible and not have a collision, and then delete itself after 10 seconds. So we're going to take our sphere, set visibility, new visibility looks good, and then we're also going to want to do set collision. And we'll want to do a collision actor. Set actor enable collision. This turns off the collision of the entire actor and makes it so that if you walk into the area with the collision sphere, you won't get the ability again. I'm going to connect those, plug that into true. So now when the player walks into it, it will set all of this off. Then, going to plug in our double jump. Tidy this up. Plug into the reset. Plug the reset into destroy. And we're now going to add a delay node. There we go. So I said that we would set this to a 10-second delay. Honestly, you could set this to however long you want. It's up to you. This is a simple power up, so I'm setting it to 10 seconds just so we can see it. Compile, save. And now I'm going to drop this into the map. All right. So previously, the way that we had this set, oh, that's much smaller. That looks good. Previously, the way that we had this set up, if you hold down shift, you can sprint. Pressing space will cause you to jump, but you don't have a double jump. You can hit the jump button as many times as you want. You'll only do it once. Now, when we walk into this object, we should be able to jump twice. There we go. And clear a bunch of air doing this. But once the timer runs out, you can see we're back to jumping just once. So that's a simple power up for a double jump ability, and it deletes itself after 10 seconds. You can set that to whatever time you want for the ability, and you can give yourself as many jumps as you want. So we're also going to create a dash ability. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to duplicate our blue sphere and call this dash. This one is a little bit more dynamic than the previous one. We're going to open this, and we're going to have to create a couple of changes, not just in this blueprint, but we're also going to have to access the third person blueprint. So we're going to take the same ability as our previous power up. We're going to take all of this, copy it over, but we're going to get rid of our jump count. Instead, we're going to add something to our third person character blueprint. So we're going to open that up. And you can see in our basic setup, we've got our jump system and we have our sprint system over here. We're going to be combining the two inputs in order to create our dash mechanic. So the easiest way that we're going to be able to do that, we're going to create this Boolean. Looks like I already have it. I was testing stuff out earlier. The can dash Boolean. And what we're going to want to do is come back to our dash ability, and you're going to want to come off of player reference, set can dash. Set that to true, plug into the delay, duplicate this, set that to false, and plug it into destroy. Make sure you connect the target to it, compile, save, and that's all we have to do for our blueprint itself. Now we can come back to third person, and this is where we're going to be adding some Boolean checks. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is get whether or not the player is running. This is part of our sprint system, and we want to be able to dash as long as we're sprinting. So by using this, it will make it so that we cannot dash as long as we don't have stamina. So as long as we're not running, we won't be able to use our dash ability. We're also going to get whether we can dash. Off of can dash, we're going to do a branch. And off of running, we're also going to do a branch. Plug true into the execution of is running. And now we're going to want to create a new Boolean. We're going to do a Boolean called is dashing. Grab that and set a branch for it. Off of true, we're going to, off of true, we're going to plug into the branch. And now, off of false, we're going to set is dashing to true. So as long as you're not dashing, it will set it to dashing. And now we are going to do our dash mechanic. Off of the set is dashing, do a launch character. And then you're going to want to set is dashing to false. There we go. Before you do that, you're actually going to want a delay, just so it doesn't break anything. We're going to want to split the pin structure of launch velocity And now we're going to want to get our velocity. There we go. Split the pin structure. Oh, wait. No, you don't want to split the pin structure. Instead, we're going to come off of the velocity and we're going to do a multiply. Convert the pin down here by right-clicking on it, and you're going to want a single precision float. We'll want to set that to whatever we want. I'm going to set it to 15, and then we're going to split the pin structure. There we go. We're going to want to plug Y into Y and X into Y. This way, it will multiply the velocity of the character forward and to the left or right by 15, giving us that dash. And now, we'll have to plug all this in. So we have this set up so that we jump when we press the space bar. But we can also set this up for our dash mechanic. What we're going to do, we're going to come off of started, plug it into the top branch. Off of false, we just want to jump. And we're going to want to do the same thing for the other jump, or for the other branch. So it should look like this. Let me tidy this up a little bit and plug this up here. Get our branch, compile, and save. All right. So this is the main code for our dash mechanic. And if this works out correctly, we should be able to jump and sprint normally. So running can sprint, drain stamina. If I jump, I just do a regular jump. Holding down shift and jumping still causes me to jump. If we run into the double jump, everything looks good. So now we can place down our sprint mechanic, or our dash mechanic, sorry. Here we go. The true test. We can still jump. We can still sprint. But if we try to do both, it just launches us forward. That actually looks pretty good. Oh, and you can see it ran out of juice. So we can show that off again. Sprint. Ooh, okay. The dash might be a little bit much with 15. So let's drop that down a little bit. Back in our character. Drop that down to, let's do 5. Compile, save. There we go. So there is one more thing that I need to do. We're going to do friction. We're going to do falling lateral friction. We're going to set that to 5. And use separate braking friction, we're going to turn off. There we go. Now when we try this, we shouldn't slide around. There we go. And once we run out of time, we're immediately jumping again. Alright then, that concludes our video on power-ups. In this video, we went over how to create a simple power-up collectible, and we created a power-up that grants a dash ability by augmenting the sprint mechanic, as well as a power-up that grants a double jump ability. For both of these abilities, we put them on a delay trigger, so that once the player walks into the collectible, it hides it from view and destroys it after a 10-second interval. During the 10 seconds, however, that player is able to use the abilities of their power-up and then gets reset once time's up. This mechanic can be used for a number of different things, ranging from more power-ups that can be created, to ammo that is dropped in the world, to collectible currency that can be added to the world for different game types. If you enjoyed this video or found it useful, hit the like button and subscribe to stay up to date on our upcoming videos. Check out our next video where we will be building up the interactable object mechanic we created before and creating a loot box or treasure chest system that spawns items into the world for the player to grab. We hope to see you there, so until next time, go out, make an impact.